Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week with Moving to Georgia. I am Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, your North Metro Atlanta real estate agent. And today we are going to be diving into the three questions in real estate that is on everyone's minds. But before we get to that, I thought we should talk about something that's happening here in Georgia that you need to know if you're a resident, and that is the gas tax suspension, the Georgia state tax suspension that Governor Kemp put in place ends tonight at midnight. So, starting tomorrow, you're going to see small increases in gas prices here at the pumps here in Georgia. We've gotten quite used to some pretty darn good gas prices over the past year. And starting tomorrow, you're going to see that tax suspension go back into effect, at least for now, and you're going to start paying 31 cents more per gallon at the pump tomorrow. Now, I don't know if you're watching us from Georgia. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love for you to say hello and tell me where you're watching from. But today, at least here in the Metro Atlanta area, there were several gas stations that I was going to swing in just because I needed gas on the way home today. And gas was completely sold out because everyone was filling up their cars so that they could take advantage of the very, very last day of this tax break. So, when you're at the pump, that's saving you, a couple dollars every single time that you fill up. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive. However, when you compare it to the national average, Georgia still has pretty darn good gas prices. So if you're joining us on the live stream, let me know, say hello. And of course, if you have any questions at all about making a move or anything that's going on in the real estate market, let me know in the comments. Just drop them right down there, and I will make sure that we answer those throughout the live stream tonight. So we have a lot going on in the real estate market, and we are coming off of a holiday break. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving last year. I always like to give you a little bit of update on what the weather is doing here in Georgia. Today was a very cold day. It's actually one of the coldest November days on record. And the high was in the upper 40s. Yesterday, the wind chill was so cold, not close. We've got Crawlers and Customs who is closing on his house here in just a few weeks, and we are welcoming him to Georgia up in the Dawsonville area. So we are so excited for you to close on your new home and welcome you to Georgia. So you're going to hopefully get to experience a little bit of Georgia snow. I'm counting on it. So we have a video coming up, and a couple of years ago, 2 years ago to be exact, back in January of 2022, almost 2 years, it snowed so much in one day. They just called for like a light dusting of snow, which is normal. We get about one light dusting of snow every single year. This time it was inches of snow, and I went out and took some great footage of that because I was like, oh, one day we're going to want to use this in a video. So I have that footage coming up in a video for y'all to see. But yeah, as someone that grew up in South Georgia, I mentioned this a lot in the videos, but I always get so excited about usually the one snow day that we have a year because it's very exciting. Just so long as it's like one day a year. I don't want to live somewhere where it snows all the time. So I know that we get a lot of people that relocate from other states where you do get snow all the time, or you're dealing with extreme heat. And thankfully, that's something that we don't really have to deal with much here either. We've got Umberto watching us from Flowery Branch, right here locally, just down the road. Thanks for watching and joining us. So I wanted to share with you, and I forgot to tee this up. So some of the questions that, that are on everyone's mind when it comes to the real estate market, which is what is going on, what's ahead, what can we expect in the months to come. And, there's three main questions that everyone wants to know. The first question is, where are mortgage rates heading? And this has been a bumpy ride this year when it comes to mortgage rates. So earlier in the year, it was wildly predicted that we were going to have mortgage rates kind of back in the sixes by now during the fourth quarter. That's what the experts kept predicting. Well, you guessed it. Now they're kicking the ball, they're punting it, and we're expecting to have those mortgage rates slowly start to come back down in 2024. At least that's what the experts are predicting. So I'm going to share with you an article. This was in Forbes magazine, and this is kind of what some economists were predicting for 2024. It says, when will they finally come down? So mortgage rates almost got to 8% in October. And, they kind of maybe predicted that earlier in the year. But no one was predicting that this was going to happen in the fourth quarter of this year. We were expecting interest rates to come down and be lower at this point, but inflation was having a very tough time getting that under control. But thankfully, since those highs in October, the interest rates have been, kind of coming back down among good inflation news. So right now at the end of October, end of November, they're right around the low sevens for most people. So what can we expect? We know that the Fed paused rate hikes, and although they're not directly correlated to mortgage rates, they are indirectly kind of tied. So the Fed got some great promising data in October and November that inflation was starting to kind of come back closer to where they wanted it. So they indicated they were going to pause their rate hikes for the federal interest rates. And so typically mortgage rates kind of follow behind that. So, this goes on to say that inflation remained flat in October, and that was a sign that the Fed's work in cooling prices is working, and it's holding firm, and it's heading towards that 2% target, although very slowly. So, um, Danielle Hale, the chief economist at Realtor.com, says that she expects the Fed to keep the option for an additional future rate hike on the table, even if the odds it will need to exercise that option are really low. So they haven't indicated yet that it's completely off the table. So they could still raise interest rates. So this is something that, everyone's kind of indicating that it's a little bit still kind of volatile out there. And Matt Vernon, head of retail banking at Bank of America, says the Fed's likely decision to cut rates in 2024 would be a key factor that could breathe new life into the housing market. So if the Fed reversed course and said, "Hey, we're done with the pause, and we're actually going to make moves to cut the federal interest rate," that would have huge impact. Definitely we would see a much faster decline when it comes to mortgage rates. Searching for the right word there and couldn't come up with it. So let's look at these mortgage rate predictions for 2024. So Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist at Realtor, the National Association of Realtors, he says mortgage rates look to head towards 7% in a few months and into the 6% range by the spring of 2024. The RSM US real estate senior analyst says, assuming no significant economic shocks, mortgage rates are likely to continue slowly easing over the next few months to reach 6% to 6.5% range by spring of 2024. So that's almost 0.5% to a full percent difference than what they're currently at today. Mortgage Bankers of America are calling for mortgage rates to end 2024 in the low 6 and reach 5.5% at the end of 2025. So they're predicting 6% at the end of 2024. And then we've got the other two that had just said that we were going to see 6s in spring of 2024. Let's see here. Bank of America's head of retail lending, Matt Vernon, he doesn't really give a prediction. He says it's important to note that significant drops in mortgage rates might not happen in the early months of 2024. If any reductions occur, they are likely to be gradual, possibly beginning in the latter part of the year. So he's predicting even further into next year, those mortgage interest rates falling. So here is what I can tell you is that if you're on the fence about buying, and if in fact those mortgage rates do fall quite drastically in the first portion or during the spring of 2024, this is just around the corner, it's going to have significant impacts on demand. So here in the Metro Atlanta area, what we know and what we're experiencing is that there's still quite a bit of demand. And the reason that there's so much demand is because inventory is at historic lows. So I'm working with a client right now, trying to help them find a really great home in the Swanee area. And what they're interested in is, usually not something that's typically hard to find. And whenever I was looking at the available homes today that are on the market to hopefully show them some more options, it was slim pickings out there, y'all. There is hardly anything on the market right now. And so, what does that mean? Well, it means that if you're in the market right now, you want to make sure that you're working with a really great real estate agent because um, just because there's not inventory right now on the market, that doesn't mean that there's not people willing to sell their homes. So, occasionally, if we know of a specific neighborhood that a buyer wants to be in, we will find a home for sale in that neighborhood. So, making phone calls, knocking on doors, asking neighbors, like, hey, have you ever thought about selling your home? We have someone that wants to live in the neighborhood. So, you really want to make sure that you're working with someone that's going to uncover that inventory for you. But my fear is that when interest rates get below 7%, which, the economists are predicting that we're slowly going to get there towards the first part of next year, way more people are going to come out of the woodwork wanting to buy a home, which just means increased competition for you. So, if you're in a position where you have the ability to buy right now, you have a lot more leverage. You are able to make an offer on a home and be the only offer for that seller. You can negotiate seller paid closing costs and use that to buy down the interest rate to 6.5%, which is what interest rates are going to be here in just a few months or 6 months. And so you can get that interest rate with not having to wait, with negotiating that with the seller. So there's a lot of opportunity that you have right now as a buyer, regardless of the higher mortgage rates. Um, I talked about this, excuse me, I talked about this on um, the past couple of live streams, but there's a ton of opportunity right now in new construction. So, new construction builders are offering some crazy incentives for a new build. I know of a home right now where you can get a 5.375% interest rate and $10,000 towards closing cost. That is unheard of. So, the time period that it would take you to wait to get that 5.35% interest rate or to refinance into that, you're likely waiting until 2025. And you're able to take advantage of the home price that it is today and not the higher price that it is in the future. So if you're just joining us on the live stream, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It's going to notify you every time we have a new video that comes out. We also have a really great newsletter that you can sign up for. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know what you think about where mortgage rates are heading and what you see and kind of how that is impacting your future plans to make a move or buy a house or sell a house. So let's the next kind of common question that is on a lot of people's minds is, so we kind of know where mortgage rates are heading. Everyone is in agreement that those mortgage rates are likely coming down. Slowly, they're going to come down, and we'll likely see that beginning part of next year, right? And there's some mixed opinions on how quickly those rates are going to come down. But the next kind of burning question is, where are home prices heading and what can you expect with that? So I want to share with you some national data of what home prices are expected to do in 2024. And then we can kind of talk about how that's going to apply here to Georgia home prices. So this is the estimated home price performance for December, so year over year. They're predicting this from December 2023 to December 2024 and beyond. And they're predicting that home prices on average are going to appreciate by 3% this year, slower appreciation next year of 2%. But then you can kind of see that home prices are going to continue to appreciate nationally year over year. And this to me is such welcome news because this is a normal, healthy price appreciation for a home. Whereas the past couple of years, we have experienced, especially here in the metro Atlanta area, 20% year over year home price appreciation. One of the homes that I was just showing a client had almost a 50% home price appreciation. They were listed on the market today for almost $300,000 more than what this seller paid for their home just a few years ago. That is a healthy home price appreciation. And whenever you look at the data, it's very much in line with what those homes are selling for in the neighborhood. So, obviously the seller bought at the right time, and yet someone's going to look back on your future home purchase and say, wow, that seller bought at the right time in 2023 or 2024. Um, so you're experiencing healthier home price appreciation. So don't expect home prices to fall. And I know that I get a lot of comments and have a lot of conversations with many great clients that say, but Sarah, I see those home price drops all the time on Zillow, or the home that we've been watching. I keep seeing that home price is decreasing. Why? So you're telling me the home prices are appreciating, but yet I'm seeing the opposite. And what I can tell you is that um, in the instance of this house that I was just telling you about, this seller originally had the home on the market for way overpriced, like $75,000 more back in October than what it's currently listed at for today. Now, I don't know if that was bad advice from the agent or if the seller had an overly inflated price of what they thought the home was worth. But 9 times out of 10, whenever you're seeing those price drops online, those are price corrections because the seller or the agent overpriced that home to begin with. That does not equate to a home losing value in this market. And that is evidenced by the local data that we have. And, nationally, we're seeing that in national numbers. Now, that's not to say that there's not some areas in the country where they are seeing depreciation in home values. Just the metro Atlanta area is just not one of those cases. So, if we look at percent change in home values month over month, now this is just looking at the past um, 16 months or so, we see that in 2022, um, home prices were appreciating, they kept growing. And then all of a sudden, whenever the Fed started increasing the Fed interest rate back in July to tame inflation, that's when mortgage rates started going up. And so we experienced a very much of a cooling off period between July of 2022 and January of this year. And then you can kind of see that home price values have gone up in value as buyers return to the market and as people kind of got more comfortable of saying like, okay, we are in it for the long haul for these mortgage rates. We're not going to see mortgage rates again in the threes or the twos ever again. So, um, home prices have appreciated for a while here. And these are national numbers. So this is not the Atlanta market directly, but I can tell you that this is very much happening here in the metro Atlanta market as well. So if you're just joining us and you have any questions, comments, agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them or let's talk about them. So when we are looking ahead to 2024, this is, let me get rid of that banner so that you can see. These are three big realtor associations. So Fannie Mae, the government, MBA, and the National Association of Realtors are predicting what they're seeing in 2023 and 2024. So as you can see, everyone is predicting higher home price appreciation in 2023, a little bit of cooling off in 2024. So, but overall, they are expecting that home price appreciation to increase by 2% in 2024. So you are not going to anticipate how do I say this? You're not going to experience home price depreciation or saving any money on a home in 2024 on average. So I say this with a grain of salt because this is all kind of dependent upon how much mortgage rates move. And so if you have a situation where mortgage rates move quite a bit in the first part of next year, a lot of buyers come out of the woodwork to buy a house, then you're looking at a situation where there's way more demand than there is supply of homes available. And then we get into a situation that we were in 2021 and half of 2022, where you've got multiple people wanting the same house and people paying above and beyond the fair market value to purchase the house. So even though home price appreciation might only be predicted to be 2%, there could be situations where people are willing to pay 5 or 10% more than what the home is worth, or what the traditional fair market value is in order to win that house. So again, this just kind of comes back to you. If you have the flexibility of timing, go for it now. You are going to be able to negotiate better terms, better rates, more seller paid closing costs to buy down the interest rate and have a little bit more control of that process than what I predict you're going to be able to experience here in, the next half of the year coming up here in 2024. So I'm curious, where are you watching from, and what is the housing market doing where you're at? I have a lot of great clients that are relocating here and that are in the process of selling homes all across the country in order to make the move to Georgia. And it is a mixed basket of what these sellers, my now buyers, are experiencing. Some are experiencing where their homes are still selling relatively quickly, a week on the market. And then I have other clients where it took them 6 weeks of being on the market in their area before they were able to secure a contract on their home. And then I also have some clients who it's been a few months and they're still waiting to sell their house. So it drastically varies. And you have to keep in mind that the market that you're moving from may not be the same market that you're moving to. And so always make sure that you're connected with a really great agent in the area that you're moving to that can really educate you on what it's like there, because again, could be possibly way different than where you're moving from. All right. So again, if you have any questions about making a move or the housing market, let me know in the comments below. I had the pleasure of helping a client do a final walkthrough on a 55 plus community house today. And this was a builder that I've always heard great things about, but it was the first time I've had a client buy a new construction home in this neighborhood. And I have to tell y'all that it was hands down one of the best built homes that I have been in a very long time. So typically, just to kind of share with you, whenever you do a new construction walkthrough prior to closing, you're going through the house a week before and you're like marking up all the areas that need paint touch-ups and drywall touch-ups and things that are missing and, like little finishing stuff. And so typically my speech to buyers and I prepare them and I'm like, hey, listen, we're about to walk in this house and it's our opportunity to find out like where everything's located, hot water heater, shut off valves, all that kind of stuff. But it's also our time to point out paint touch-ups that need to happen. And then my usual speech is, it's going to be a lot of paint touch-ups and we're going to put blue tape everywhere and it's going to be a lot of blue tape everywhere. But don't worry, it's going to be okay. They have a week. They're going to finish this in the next week and that's their normal part of the process. So that's the speech that I give to buyers whenever you're buying a new construction home, because I don't want you to be taken, aback and want to prepare you for what you can expect and what's normal. So when we went through this walkthrough today with the builder and he's starting the orientation, I'm like, okay, great. So can I have some blue tape? And I didn't see him carrying around any blue tape. And he was like, oh no, we don't do that. We just write it down on this list. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, that's a lot of writing that you're going to have to do because there's a lot of typically normal paint touch-ups that you have to do. Would y'all believe me that there was only 5 things that needed to be addressed in this house? I was amazed. So the quality of build was just so good. And it was just refreshing to see that. Crawlers and Custom said, going back to selling their house, they listed ours during the week. The first person that saw our home that Saturday morning gave us a full price offer on the Monday after. That is lucky. And it does happen. It only takes one showing and one offer to make a deal happen. And so that is very good. I'm excited for you for that. So escape route from Long Island, housing prices are through the roof. And I also see houses that need to be totally gutted and rehabbed and the prices are still through the roof. Yeah. So that just kind of speaks to the demand. And during going back to here in the metro Atlanta area during the pandemic, those unicorn years of 2021, 2022, sellers could kind of set any price that they wanted to for their home. They didn't really have to fix it up to sell it. just turn on the lights and put a for sale sign out in the yard, and they were getting great prices for their houses. The difference that we're kind of seeing right now in the market is that those homes that are sitting there and that haven't sold, either they're overpriced or the condition of the house is not that great. And so the buyers are kind of saying, like, no, I don't want to buy this house. I have other options. Um, so you're able to either negotiate a little bit more on the price because you're the only offer. Um, Yeah, so the point I'm trying to make here is that, here in the Metro Atlanta area right now, it's a great opportunity. Whereas if you wait until the frenzy of the spring when everyone wants to buy a house and interest rates are starting to come down and there's still not that many homes for sale, I'm afraid that we might get back into a situation where sellers are able just to sell their house in kind of like any condition. So we definitely want to make sure that we're getting you the very best value and the very best deal. Escape Route also says there are houses that need to be knocked down and the prices are still through the roof, but not mine. I have a beautiful home. I'm sure you do. Um, so thankfully here, I don't really see that many tear downs. Um, and yet one thing that I do see here though in the Metro Atlanta area is home prices are more expensive for sure than what they were 2 years ago. And so I kind of feel like 2 years ago, you could find a house under 200, 250,000 that was worth buying and that could be your first home, a starter home, a great investment. Now, you definitely need to spend 350 to get something that is decent, move in ready-ish, just to find something that might need some new carpet or some new paint. You're definitely looking to spend in the 300s, 350 range just to be in the entry level in a lot of the Metro Atlanta areas in Atlanta. So um, I know that in researching and kind of keeping up with the market across the country, one of the areas is Austin, Texas, which had a huge boom during the pandemic of tons of people flocking to Austin to purchase houses. And it's one of the few areas right now where they're actually seeing more people leave and kind of home prices falling in that area. And so we have not seen that happen here in Georgia. Antoinette from California, south of Orange County, but LA and San Diego prices are all through the roof. You might be able to find a fixer upper for $400,000 to $500,000. Californians are my most favorite relocation clients to work with because 9 times out of 10, y'all are amazed at the type of house that you can get here in Georgia, the amount of square footage, the neighborhoods, the trees, the weather. Like, y'all are just so happy. And that makes me happy. So, although I have learned from working with other Californians, those that live in North California, I guess I realized from helping that it's not normal for y'all to have heating and air conditioning systems in your house. So, the first couple of times that I was helping clients from California, they were walking through the house and they were like, "Oh, look, they have central heating and air vents." And then the next house, they pointed it out again. And so finally I had to tell them, like, y'all, look, we have HVAC in every single house. We would die in the spring, summer, and fall without heating and air conditioning. Well, the air conditioning mainly, right? Um, unless you're like my husband, who in the winter, his game is like, let's see how long we can wait into the year to turn on the heat. Cause he's like, oh, just go put on a sweater, or, put on another blanket. Um, Meanwhile, I'm like, let's just turn on the heat. Although we do have a fireplace and I love a good fire and that warms me up. But if you get up to go anywhere else in the house, you're like freezing. Liz says she will be down to Georgia around coming for a couple of days soon. And next year, I'll be back for a whole week to get a feel for Georgia and what place I actually want to settle down to. I love that for you, Liz. And you are doing the exact right thing. So, it's imperative that you come here and get a feel for the area, the different towns, drive through the neighborhoods, go to the grocery stores, go to restaurants, so that you can, see if you can see yourself living here. Because it's one thing for me to make a video and tell y'all all the wonderful and bad things, but it's another thing for you to experience it and feel that firsthand. So I'm super excited. If you have any questions before your trip, Liz, that I can help with, definitely reach out to me. My phone number and email address is below this video, and would love to help give you any recommendations that we can for the area. So stay tuned. Probably by the end of this week or early part of next week, we are going to have a guide on our website of all the different areas that we cover and the most popular neighborhoods in each of those areas that you can click on, and it'll take you directly to the address. That way you can drive around while you're in town and get that. And then it also has some really great restaurant recommendations and coffee shops and parks and kind of like things to check out in the area when you're there. So I'm excited for your trip. That is great. All right. So the next question that we get, or that is on everyone's mind, well, quickly just want to show you that this is just showing areas where home prices have appreciated month over month in the top 20 cities over the past, or this is looking at August, but you can just kind of see that, home prices aren't growing exponentially 10-20%, but they are still growing. All right. So the next question that is typically on everyone's mind is a recession on the horizon? And, gosh, I don't know about y'all, but it feels like we've been talking about a recession for years, or at least, years, right? Ever since the pandemic. And, we didn't have a recession then, or like a tiny blip of a recession for 2 months, and then we came out of it. So when we look to the experts and kind of what they think, if we go back to October of last year, the Wall Street Journal survey of economists surveyed their economists in 2022, and then October of this year. Back in October of last year, 63% said, yeah, it's coming. And now you can kind of see the tide is starting to turn. They feel like maybe we have avoided a recession. So there's different data that's out there. Unemployment numbers are a little bit higher. And those are kind of some things that are tending toward or trending towards, possibly a recession. And, your guess is as good as mine. But the one thing I know is that at least in the housing market, because the supply is so severely limited, there is not expected to be a recession that would impact the housing market in that sense. So that is really something to keep in mind. And so that is probably going to vary, obviously, by the market and what's happening across the country in different areas and different metros. But here in the metro Atlanta area, we have such limited supply of inventory that it would take a drastic, recession in order for that flood of inventory to come on the market. And even then, it's not something that would greatly impact home prices. We're not expecting a flood of foreclosures or anything like that, because people have amazing equity in their homes. I saw a statistic the other day that said 30% of all Americans have a home that is paid off. And that's at an all-time high. And so there's a tremendous amount of equity that a lot of people are sitting on out there. This brings me to a thought. Here's a great tip for you. Even if you're not thinking about making a move, this is something that, well, especially if you're not making a move, but if you've purchased a home, well, anybody should do this. Analyze the value of your home versus what you owe on your home. So if you're at a 20% ratio between what you owe, what your mortgage balance is, and what your home value is, it doesn't matter what you paid for it. Go to Zillow, look up your Zestimate. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it will be like, loosely within a range. Reach out to a great local real estate agent. I can help you connect you with one. They can help give you a little bit more of an accurate value of what your home is worth. But if what you owe on your home versus what it's worth, if you have at least 20% equity in your home, you need to call your mortgage company and ask them to remove the private mortgage insurance. They will likely ask you to pay for an appraisal. So it's going to be a couple $100, but dropping that PMI from your monthly payment is going to save you hundreds of dollars every single month. And so a lot of people don't know that you can call up your mortgage company and request that they analyze that and take it off. But here's a hint or a tip. The mortgage company is just not going to call you up and say, "Hey, we noticed that your home is now worth this and you have 20% equity in your house. We can drop your private mortgage insurance and get rid of that extra couple $100 a month that you're paying." No, they're never going to tell you that. They're just going to hope that you never call them and they're going to keep collecting that money. So, a ton of people right now can take advantage of dropping that PMI from your mortgage payment just by simply making that phone call to your mortgage company because home prices have appreciated so much. So, hopefully, watching this tonight saves you a couple $100 every single month and puts that back into your pocket. The only thing I ask is that if you ever move to Georgia, call me so that I can help you. So, I hope you found that helpful. I'm just curious, has anyone here that's watching tonight, have you called your mortgage company and went through that process of dropping your mortgage insurance, and how easy was that or difficult? Um, it's traditionally a very easy process. The worst thing that they will do is, again, ask you to have an appraisal done. So they'll order that appraisal. It's a couple $100 to have that done, but it's going to save you, depending upon how much your mortgage insurance is, it could save you well over thousands of dollars every single year. Antoinette says that she's going to be visiting her sister in LJ. Have I heard of Smith Douglas Builders? Yes, they are a good local medium-ish builder, and they build great communities, great homes, and I've had good experiences with them. So yes, I do recommend checking that builder out. Peach Lover, hi, thanks for joining us. We need to talk about your move. I need to call you tomorrow. All right. So if you have any questions about making a move to Georgia, have any comments, have anything to say, let me know down below. We'll make sure to answer those. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that. Sign up for our newsletter. In the next newsletter that I send out, I'm going to send you some more details on how to get rid of that private mortgage insurance to save you some money every single month on your mortgage payment. And we also send out information about what's going on here in the Metro Atlanta area, what you can expect. If you're not already following me on social media, I have a really great Instagram account where I share a lot of local information of new restaurants and things like that that are opening up, and exciting facts and news stuff. So make sure you follow me there so that we can stay connected. All right. Well, if you don't have any questions, I am going to end the live stream for tonight, but you can find us every single Sunday with a brand new video for you about moving to the Metro Atlanta area and what is happening. You can also find us just about every single Wednesday, unless it's a holiday, and that will help stay connected and learn about what's going on. Antoinette says, who was the builder I was talking about earlier? That was David Weekly Homes, and that specific community was in Flowery Branch. So I would love to connect you or send you some more information about that. I really love David Weekly, I guess, has now earned a good spot on my good builders list. I also really love Chafin Builders. That is another smaller local builder that builds a really good house. And so if I was someone that was coming to an area, if I had the option of looking at a smaller local builder, I would really weigh my options of what a smaller local builder has to offer versus a big DR Horton or something like that, and kind of compare the price points, compare the neighborhoods, and kind of form your opinion and see what you think. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I will see you next week here on the live stream. Hopefully see you on Sunday as well. Subscribe to the channel so you can get alerted of every single time we put out a new video, which is every single Sunday. All right. See y'all next week.